Howdy guys. I've been working on this F7101 plates. These are some kind of reinforcement, I forget what they call them, but part number is F7101. This is the left side part. That's what it looks like. It actually goes into the fuselage this way. So this shorter end here is the front side. This is the back side. That's what I've been working on. I've got this side done. This is the outside of the fuselage. The part I just showed you is on the inside. I'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to make note of, I went ahead and drilled this hole here, this 7/16 hole for the vent line. And I went ahead and drilled this 1-inch hole for the fuel line. I put the grommet on to help me fit that plate that I just showed you. And I'll get to that in a minute. I guess I'll get to that now. I'm going to crawl up underneath the fuselage here. All right. So this is that plate, the 7101. So this is installed. This is the right side plate. Of course, remember the fuselage is upside down. There's a lot going on here. I thought that this part was pre-punched. It's pre-bent. It has pre-punched holes here. That's it. There aren't any other holes on it. There are holes pre-punched here, and the holes that are in here are pre-punched on this part, and that's it. So I figured, I'll clean up the edges, cleco it in place here, match drill it, done. But that's not the case. There's a lot going on here. First of all, when you get it in here, of course, to get it in here, you have to uncleco this piece of angle and this piece of angle so you can get it in here flat. If these are clecoed, this won't sit flat because it just rests on the clecos. Because remember, this won't have holes in it along these edges. When you do that, you get the part in here. I have my seat support, or my whatever these are. These are basically the floorboards of the center section. I have them in place, but because they curve around like you see here, they get in the way of pulling this in and out of here. So I had to loosen this so I can move it out of the way to get this in and out. Like I said, you have to uncleco these two pieces of angle. So when you go to initially fit this, mine, at least this one, was a little bit too big in this dimension this way. It was a little wide, and what was happening was I would put it in, I'd cleco it here with the pre-punched holes, and because it was a little bit wide, it was pushing this piece of angle down. And I noticed when I was getting ready to match drill it from the other side that these holes in the angle were no longer lining up with the holes in the skin. So be aware of that, because you don't want to elongate the holes that you already have in this aluminum. So I had to take this out, and I had to file down the top and bottom edges so that when this was in and it was clecoed here, the holes, the existing holes in these pieces of aluminum would still match nicely with the holes in the skin. You also have to, on the back side of this edge and on the back side of this edge, you have to radius the edge a little bit on the back side so it will nest with these pieces of angle. The pieces of angle have a radius inside corner. And in order to get this flat plate to lay across these angle webs along the edges, you've got to radius the back side. And I also radius the back side of this edge just a little bit, because this radius in here is pretty big, and it comes onto this leg of this piece quite a bit. So I radius the back edge of this plate here, all along here, and all along here. So once I have the edges trimmed to make sure that it's not pushing the angles out of the way, And I got the back edges radius so that they nest in the angles correctly. And then I was able to go ahead and cleco it here, clamp it in a few places, and then do my usual marking with the drill bit on all the holes. Then I took it out, drilled everything on the drill press, brought it back, clecoed it in place. And then once all of this was clecoed, then I went ahead and match drilled the holes that are in here. I didn't match drill them. I should say I went ahead and marked them like I usually do with the drill bit, and then took it out and drilled it on, took this piece out and drilled it on the drill press. All right, so another thing is, remember I was showing you this rubber grommet that's on the other side. That rubber grommet there, that's a 1-inch hole. When you look at the plans tell you, when you look at the side skins, the plans tell you to make this hole 1 inch. They do not give, at least what I could find, I could not find any instruction on what size to make this hole. So what I elected to do was to follow the plans, and I made this a 1-inch hole, which told me that obviously that's where the grommet goes. And then on the back side, I just made this hole big enough for the line to go through. This is for the fuel line. When you look at the plans, the fuel line is 3/8. So this hole here on this piece, I made it half. And when you look at the thickness of the grommet, when you have the grommet installed, that thickness of the grommet that's between this plate and the skin is thinner than the thickness of the angle. So you don't have to make this hole as big as the grommet. There's no interference here between this piece and the rubber grommet that's just behind it. At least that's what I found. It may rest on the grommet a little bit, but it's not bowed or anything. The grommet's not sticking this out, and this is not pushing on the skin. That back plate's not pushing on the grommet, making the skin bulge. And even if it does, it doesn't matter, because this whole area here is going to get covered up with when the wing's installed. So that's how I elected to get this plate fitted. Like I said, there's a lot going on because none of it is drilled except for this side and the side that fits inside here. And you have to make sure that it's filed correctly so it doesn't push your angles out of the way and you lose your hole alignment with the skin itself. You got to radius the back side so it nests nicely within the angles. And then you got to get this hole made, and then you've got to match the holes that are drilled into this, the holes that are punched on this. You have to match those to this piece, which means ultimately, at least for me, I ended up taking this piece out and drilling those holes on the drill press. So that one's done. I have to do this side next. You can see I already have the 1-inch hole drilled. Make sure you drill that hole with this plate out of the way. You don't want to inadvertently put a larger hole in this plate than you need to. So make sure that plate's out of the way. Here's my 1-inch hole. Here's my 7/16 as per plans. Now I'm going to start fitting the F7101 on this side. All right. Talk to you guys later.